All right. Welcome everyone to the webinar here. We
Hey everyone.
are hey, Daniel's here with me. We're waiting on people to trickle in here, just like as always. Give people a few minutes to trickle in here. I see people are let me see here, trickling in here. Oh, good afternoon. Yeah. So, as always, I always like to start with an icebreaker here. Everyone give their title, right? What do you do for a living, right? Whether you're a DevOps engineer or a developer, whatever you're doing. Um, and then tell us where you're from, and then tell us your favorite podcast. I think that would be a cool little icebreaker for me. I have uh I have two podcasts I listen to regularly. One of them is Bad Friends, and the other one is Planet Money. And they're like, I always think it's funny because they're two completely opposite podcasts. They're podcasts that like have nothing to do with each other, but they're like just like my favorite podcast. Daniel, what do you frequent?
I'm into the scary stuff. So I'm always listening to like serial killer stuff, Crime Junkie, Mr. Bone,
Uh
stuff that keeps me up at night.
yeah, oh, okay, true crime, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to a few of those. I listened to the like the one-off ones. I think I like the series ones. They're actually pretty interesting. So here, someone is SRE at McKinnison, Columbus, Ohio. There we go. Um, the overlap. Okay. I've never heard of the overlap. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, soccer podcast. I am sad because Bayern Munich got eliminated yesterday, so I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, so everyone, if you're just joining, we're just kind of getting setting up, letting people trickle in here before we actually start the webinar. Kind of just say the Harry Kane effect, please. Yes, I know, Harry Kane curse. Put where you're from, what you do, right? And what's your favorite podcast? Here we're talking about just kind of little icebreaker here. We see people trickling in here. We got people from Columbus, Ohio. It's morning here. I'm on the West Coast. Daniel, I think you're in Texas, so I think it's almost lunchtime for you.
Yeah, just about right after this webinar.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I think as people are trickling in, we can go ahead and get started here. So, all right, welcome everyone to the webinar where we're going to talk about the Akuity platform. So, this is the Akuity platform is the end-to-end GitOps platform for Kubernetes. And so today I brought Daniel here on with me because he is constantly talking to customers and end users like all day, every day. And I think he is the perfect person to talk about the Akuity platform. He definitely talks to way more end users than I do. So I think that he would be perfect to talk about the Akuity platform. So as always, my name is Christian Hernandez. I'm your GitOps Kingpin, head of community over here at Akuity. And so, Daniel, can you give a kind of a little intro here for you?
Thanks, Christian. Yeah, so I'm Daniel Hoang. I come from an SRE and operations background, and I was one of the early sales engineers here at Acuity. So, like Christian mentioned, I have seen a lot of GitOps implementations and over the years gotten really deep into the space working here. So excited to share some insights today, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome, awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I think my slides went away. One second. There we go. Now I see your screen. Um, cool. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about Acuity here. So if you can hit the next slide there. Awesome. So, what is Acuity? I always like to start here to kind of level set of what Acuity is. So, Acuity and the Acuity platform is built from the original creators of Argo and Kargo, right? So, our founders there, Hong, Jesse, and Alex, they developed Argo and the Argo project at Intuit, right? So, they all were Intuit, and Intuit made a strategic decision to move to Kubernetes, right? Get off of VMs, get off of doing FTPing applications onto bare metal and VMs, going all cloud, all Kubernetes. At that time, though, since there were very early adopters, there wasn't really a lot of tool sets built around adopting Kubernetes, right? They saw the value in Kubernetes, but then they wanted to migrate the applications, migrate everything over to Kubernetes without burdening the developers. So this is and this is why they created the Argo project. They created the Argo project for a few reasons. One, to migrate to Kubernetes, right? Quickly migrate over to Kubernetes. Two, provide a holistic dashboard to be able to deploy and manage their applications, right? Give a great user experience to the developers so that way they don't have to teach them about Kubernetes. They just worry about their applications. And then lastly, to leverage the declarative nature of Kubernetes by implementing it in a GitOps fashion, right? And so they created, open sourced, ran Argo in production over at Intuit. They brought kind of the other lessons learned over and created the Akuity and the Akuity platform. And then also now we're developing Kargo, right? So Kargo actually is a brainchild of our founders. They actually thought of this concept while they were at Intuit, but now that they have a time dedicated to writing an actual platform with best practices, we created Kargo here at Akuity. But the idea came from them actually running Argo and in production and GitOps in production. They saw that need. So that's the story. That's kind of Akuity, who we are. Created Argo and Kargo. And then now the idea is we're providing a platform, a holistic GitOps platform. So, and then speaking of the holistic GitOps platform, right? And that's kind of like, I think where Daniel, you come in to explain a little bit about what the Akuity platform offers, what we can do with it, and why do we need something beyond just Argo, beyond just Kargo?
Yeah, and that ties a lot into that history that you just shared. So, why did they have to build this solution for Argo in the first place? It was to remove bottlenecks. It was to iterate faster, to make more people enabled to be able to use Kubernetes and ship code faster. So every company today, like no matter what you do, you need to iterate quicker. You need to iterate more safely, more securely. Every ounce of downtime causes a lot of trouble within any organization. That's money lost. So the problems that lead to that typically are fragile scripting, manual steps, tribal knowledge, lack of visibility. And, with the current climate, like as people are adopting more and more AI, that increases the speed of delivery. People are pushing code now faster than ever. So that means that you need more backup. You need safer, pipelines built out. You need more AI at the ending stages of GitOps delivery to help you remediate those problems as well. And those solutions are tied to the Akuity platform. So Akuity platform encompasses the entire story of delivery, from deployment to promotion to monitoring. We aim to remove the friction of software delivery so that you can focus on your differentiators. So that starts in the deploy stage with a robust hybrid agent architecture. In the promotion stage, offering you automated deployment pipelines, secure gating, and then just monitoring across both. So intelligent visibility, remediation capabilities as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're talking about AI in the AI space, right? Like there's this whole thing about vibe coding now, right? And we kind of joke about it a little bit. I think most people have their strong opinions on it, but it's grounded on something actually that one is happening, and two, it's gonna happen, right? Like many people are obviously always resistant to newer technologies, but like vibe coding is gonna be a thing, right? It's gonna mature. It's gonna be basically I just kind of describe what I want and then verify it after. Well, that means that you're going to be your end users, right? Your developers, your engineers are going to be constantly deploying because now they'll be able to code faster. So they want to be able to see that code somewhere in your environment faster, right? And so it's kind of interesting that you bring up AI. Well, like it's not just for developers, not just for vibe coding, right? So now that I can imagine a world where vibe coding becomes like an actual thing. They're going to want to deploy faster, and more often. You're going to need that platform to not only deploy and promote, but also monitor, right? You need that intelligence monitoring there as well.
That's right. So I guess with that said, the agenda today, like we plan to show the entire platform of Akuity. So that's going to range from deployment, promotion, monitoring, and then take us a few breaks like in between each demo right here, just to chat a little bit about like where it currently fits in the space, how it's going to solve your problems today as well, and how it looks towards the future. So one of the first things we're going to be looking at is the deployment piece. So focus primarily right here. And what's really important, what's really different in the Akuity world when you're using deploy. So one of the biggest changes and factors is going to be the architecture. Today, in just pure open source, you have to figure out how to architect. There's a ton of effort when it comes to building Argo CD, figuring out how to use it, figuring out how to scale it, how to connect it to all of the clusters within your network. And then even after you get all of that set up, you have to figure out, how do I update Argo CD? How do I patch it, tune it? There's a lot of operational burden involved in that, instead of just having GitOps that just scales for you automatically. So what's really important is that when you have a tool that you can just use, you can start to focus on what sets your company apart.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a good thing about like the operational burden, right? And so like, Argo is great, right? You install it, it works right out of the box. People love it for that reason, right? It's easy to use, easy to on-ramp. But then there comes a point where, okay, well, like now there's like the feed and care. There's like, well, how do I, like you said, how do I architect this? Well, what's my best use? What's the best practices in architecting and scaling? And okay, well, now I have to patch it, manage it, upgrade it, right? Because as you mentioned, the architecture, right? Our Argo CD is very, very hub and spoke design, right? And so at some point you're going to hit some scaling problem. And so it's one of those things that's kind of like, as people see the guitars in the back, right? I always say guitars is easy to learn, difficult to master. That's exactly how I feel about Argo CD and GitOps in general, right? It's easy to get started. It's difficult to master. There's a lot of overhead in just like managing like Argo CD. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. We're talking about the operational burden. There's an operational burden that a lot of people actually don't really see in the beginning, and maybe not even like in mid tier, but there's like an operational burden to managing a system yourself.
Very good points. I like that. I like that guitar analogy. That was good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I still haven't heard you play anything before. So,
Oh, one day I'll come on a webinar as an icebreaker. I'll play something.
all right, that sounds good. That sounds good. So, just diving further into that architecture piece, this is the key, like under the hood differentiator from the deployment side. So, instead of having to figure out how to tune and architect, tweak these components to use it, you just get Argo CD that works out of the box. And what you get here is, with this hybrid agent architecture, think of it as best of both worlds. You have a distributed Argo CD. So your components are distributed into each managed cluster. You can tune and size that however you want. You can have Akuity do it for you automatically as well. The idea is you don't have to think about that. Whenever you want to upgrade or downgrade components, that does it centrally from the control plane. Those components then detect that change and then upgrade or downgrade based off of that. And then this reverses the model. So instead of having to figure out how to securely connect Argo CD to a destination cluster, the agent reverses that model, connects back to the control plane. So as you continue to scale your business, add more clusters, you don't have to think about how to fine tune and tweak this. You don't have to be an Argo CD expert. You just get GitOps that works.
Yeah, what's really really cool, anytime I talk about this architecture, is like this is an implementation detail. It's really very good to know for those of you who are like SREs, DevOps engineers, right? People who are taking care of the platform, that you're getting this, but the end user, they just use Argo, right? It's the same Argo CD that their experience with Argo CD is the same. So which is really really great, right? There's no like special skin, or there's no kind of like, we don't abstract away the platform. They get still to use Argo CD, but the implementation on the back end is tuned for the enterprise, right? It's basically an implementation detail, but it's a very important implementation detail for those like SRE platform type of people. But it's good for the end users to know, because it's like, hey, I'm using the best in class, but I don't have to learn anything new. I just keep using the same Argo CD the way I know how to use it, right? There's no, it's still the same Argo CD you know and love, architected for the enterprise. This is which is one of the greatest things I think I like about the architecture is the best technology is the ones that get out of your way and that you don't know that you're using. And I think that's what the Akuity platform gives you. It's great because you actually are benefiting from it without having to really know what it's doing in the back end.
Yeah, I like that. Like I like the way you phrase that. The best tools, they get out of your way. You don't even know they exist.
Exactly. You don't even know they exist.
All right. With that said, I did want to show like a glimpse into Acuity Platform when it comes to the deployment perspective. So switching over to my browser right here, you're gonna see Acuity Platform, the UI. This is what we intend for the platform engineer, DevOps engineer to use to spin up those instances. You can do that from a click of a button. So click that create button, generate an instance of Argo CD. You're ready to use it, ready to start connecting your agents to your clusters. Within here, you get visibility and insight. So details into your application metrics, sync history. Clicking the URL takes you to that Argo CD that you're familiar with, that you don't have to relearn how to use. It just does the deployment piece. Going back to the Acuity UI, from here you get visibility into additional insights, which we'll dive into later on in this demo. We'll get into clusters. So from here you can connect a cluster, you can do it via the UI, you can automate it, multiple ways to get to a state of full like automated bootstrap of your clusters.
There's a cool question in it you said a click of a button. I think that's great, but also we have options, right? Someone says, can we deploy a Qt config with a YAML? Yes, we have. You can do click ops. That's great. You know, you can rubber stamp these Argo CD instances, right, as a platform engineer, right, and you can kind of delegate those out. You can use Terraform, right? You can use the Terraform. You have a Terraform provider, or you can use our API, right? We have an open API, right? You just provide a token, start using it. Or you can use our declarative CLI, right? So we have like declarative YAML, and you can use our CLI to kind of apply those to the platform. So ultimate flexibility. We don't shy away from people who rather do click ops versus using full get ops and everything in between. You're able to manage the Acuity platform that way as well. So you get all this power. You get the power of the UI, but also you can do other cool declarative things as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'm just thinking, just kind of back to your music analogy there with your guitar. It's like, hey, you played a few like notes of music, but you can't really compose like an entire track. You need some mixing tools. This basically provides you all these
Yes.
tools to mix and be able to really scale out your music composition.
Yeah. This is the garage band, right? For the for the musicians out there, right? Like we give you the audio interface, we give you garage band, we give you all that, we give you access to Spotify, and away you go.
Awesome. All right. Just continuing here, additional details that you'll get, like with this model, we're able to collect more data. We can start to understand, who's making changes in your actual instance of Argo, like who's making impacting changes, be able to follow that and understand and get to a remediation a lot quicker. So very good, especially like when you're thinking about the enterprise, auditing security becomes much more important.
For sure, auditing. I think I think you're gonna talk about kind of monitoring a little bit in the future, but in the next few demos. But I think this is very important to call out the historical auditing that we keep track. Whereas I think also Argo CD, you just get what's in etcd, right? But you need like a whole history, a whole holistic view of that. So can't wait till you get to the monitoring part. I think that's like one of the coolest parts.
For sure. We want people to stay to the end of the webinar,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. The little teaser, right? I'm not gonna give the whole thing away. So
Awesome, awesome. So just continuing here, security is very important. So with the Qt platform, like the images that you're running for Argo CD, we also want to tell you if there's any vulnerabilities like involved with them. So based off of the version that you're using, we'll show you if there's any vulnerabilities, offer you options to upgrade to fix those vulnerabilities from within the platform as well.
that's really, really cool. And I think you're gonna show it in the settings, but like I think upgrading Argo CD has always been a challenge. There's guidelines out there, but like there's not really like a how to, and I think the platform makes it easier. I think you're gonna go to the settings now to kind of show it, but I think starting here, showing the vulnerabilities and it being able to upgrade your version of Argo CD very, very easily is a very powerful thing.
You're right, you're right. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue to the settings. So the settings, this is where you would, configure all of your settings for Argo CD. This is what you would typically set up within your Argo CD config map. It's very helpful and powerful to have this UI. You can bring a lot of platform engineers, DevOps engineers onto the team a lot quicker. They can understand what's already configured, make the changes that they need to start using the platform. But from here, you can upgrade or downgrade your version that you're using at a click of a button. Once you select it, all of the agents, all of the destination clusters that you have would then upgrade or downgrade their components as well. You'll also notice that we have specific Akuity versions. We typically running the open source version components of Argo CD. It makes a lot of sense. It's part of our heritage, but also sometimes in the need where we need to provide fixes a lot quicker to our customers and end users, we're able to push a lot sooner to the Akuity version, but then also be able to push that into open source if that makes sense as well. So just continuing here, you'll see a bunch of other settings that you can configure, but what I wanted to focus on was the extensions, the additional benefits that you get from Akuity Platform. Things like our AI support engineer, monitoring, sync history, audit log, and even open source extensions, things like Argo rollouts, dashboards. You can enable this for your end users in the Akuity UI. So by enabling it here, the end users will be able to see these metrics from within Argo CD itself. So going into Argo CD right here, clicking into an application, you'll start to see that this one's kind of in a bad state. I can click into details, understand the audit log information, start to piece together information. But like Christian mentioned, I'm saving a lot of the bulk of the visibility piece for later on in the demo. So switching back to the slides real quick, I just want to get back into the story as we're going to transition into the next part of the story with promotion. So right now, you have this turnkey experience of Argo CD, but with GitOps, to implement GitOps takes a ton of effort that involves a lot of manual scripting to get to where you want, because you got it running, your pipelines, they're humming along, but then someone asks, can we promote this to staging? And then suddenly you end up writing a bunch of bash scripts. That leads you to a familiar story that many people run into constantly in the software delivery space. Teams, they often choose to build over buy, because starting at the beginning, it's like picking up that guitar. It makes a lot of sense. I can strum it a few times, get some music out there, but once you start writing entire albums, it becomes a lot of work. You're not going to remember that first song that you wrote. You're not going to be able to scale out. So a couple of scripts here and there. It's very flexible, fast, agile, but suddenly the scripts become very mission critical. They're snowflakes that no one wants to own. There's a ton of logic buried behind just bash scripting, which leads to a lot of brittle pipelines, which means that the system that you built initially to get that fast iteration, now it's slowing you down and people are getting burned out. And that's just a story that resonates pretty much across any team that I've ever spoken to. So you have to think about, not just fixing the problem for today, but thinking about how this, provides a solution for the future.
Yeah, it's and I know that resonates with me. That was my I think resonates with a lot of people, because just like in my history, where it's like you said, let's write like a bunch of scripts that do the promotion, right? Or let's write, let's tie together a bunch of scripting that do the pipelining. Like you said, barrier to entry is very, very low, very, very fast. We can do it, right? I think a lot of us had our ego built into those scripts, right? I know I did for the longest time, but at the end, like you said, as your enterprise grows, as your deployment process grows, as your company grows, as we all hope our company grows, the scripts that once helped you are now a burden, right? The scripts that once were doing the deployments are now the focus comes away from actually deploying your application and managing your applications in production to managing your scripts and the feed and care of these brittle pipelines that you built, right? Because CI is great, right? CI is wonderful. For building, for testing, for all these kind of short-lived predefined things. But when you're talking about promotions, that scope goes a lot bigger, right? And then all of a sudden, the scope of short-lived repeatable process doesn't actually fit in the CD world, but we use them anyway, right? Just because when all you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail, sort of thing. but then now we're just like taking care of nails, right? Now we're just like, before these pipelines were helping us. Now it's like, okay, what's broken? Who can fix it? I don't know. That guy left who originally wrote it. Well, who knows, Python? Well, who knows, this? Who knows this language? Go and fix it and figure it out. And now it's like the focus is on the feed and care, because when your pipeline's down, work's not being done, and then that phone is ringing, and then all of a sudden you're just a pipeline maintainer.
It sounds like a deep cut, Christian.
hmm I live that pain. And I know a lot of people are still living that pain today. So when I first started in GitOps, I knew there had to be a better way of doing promotion, because now we have a better way of doing CD. Well, now there has to be a better way of doing promotion, right? So it does cut deep for me. It's very personal.
Nice. So I want to frame where Cargo kind of fits into the story with GitOps. So, like I mentioned earlier, you have Argo CD up and running. How do I build the rest of it? How do I orchestrate, changes between environments? How do I ensure that they're going out safely and securely? So the idea is to not script this out and build it in CI. So the intention of Cargo is to be that orchestrator, which means that we're going to scope down CI to what it does best. Run like one-off like testing scripts, experiments, but also building images. CI is only doing that. So CI is less likely to fail, less likely to be like a black hole of issues that you're unaware of, like logic and bash scripts that you're unaware of. Cargo, what Cargo does is it's essentially, empowering your GitOps. It's the one that's committing the change to your GitOps repository. It calls upon the best tool to do the job. So it's looking at your container repositories for images, GitOps repositories for configuration changes. It provides that update, that change to your GitOps repository, which then Argo CD detects and then does the last mile deployment. But then Cargo is also going to allow you to, define like certain rules, certain guidelines. So with each promotion, you can validate it, make sure that things are running good and successfully, that it passes through the validation test that you've defined before it reaches a successful state, then allowing you to promote that change from one environment to the next.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of what's missing from GitOps, right? Because it's concerned with that last mile deployment. A lot was missing with GitOps is like the verification afterwards, right? Like there's a deployment and it's last mile deployment, but that like needs to be verified, right? There needs to be a process that like not only verifies that deployment, but also has that intelligence to be like, oh, like send an alert, roll it back, mark it degraded. Like there needs to be a holistic view of that, right? A lot of people use Argo rollouts for that, but that Argo rollouts is very scoped to that specific application. Whereas Cargo is focused like on the deployment as a whole, right? Whether you're running one Argo CD application or your production environment could be like 5 or 6 or 7 Argo CD applications spread across different environments. You need that holistic view, right? Not just kind of like the application specific view, which I think Cargo is driving that, right? That verification. And I love the way you put it. Use the best tool for the job, right? Cargo's pushing, you know, CI to do what it does best. It's using Argo to do what it's do best, and then it's using these monitoring tools for it to do what it does best. So I think Cargo, being the orchestrator and not being like re-implementing a lot of these things, right? It just orchestrates the best practices for these.
That's right. So let's go ahead and dive into a demo of Cargo itself.
Let's do some cargo. Let's do some cargoing.
Yeah. So what I have pulled up right here is an example Cargo pipeline. And in this pipeline, we have various environments over on the right side that represent test, UAT, and production. Over on the left side, you can see what we have is called a warehouse, and it's currently subscribed to both a Git repository and an image repository. So that's how Cargo is going to work within this pipeline. It's going to detect changes from within here, and then based off of that, run a series of steps or directives built into Cargo itself. This is how we intend to standardize the approach. We offer steps that you can use out of the box to get to a state of utilizing them for GitOps promotions. So just clicking into an example stage real quick, I can start to understand all the steps that it's taking to do a promotion to this stage. That's going to involve cloning a repository, updating the image reference, updating any customization references as well, committing that change into Git, and then telling Argo CD to perform that sync operation, return a health status. But it's very customizable. You can add in additional steps here, whether that's Helm specific directives, HTTP API steps, a lot of flexibility to get you to where you need to meet your organization.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like Legos, right? Like you get to mix and match, and you kind of have these predefined opinionated steps, but then you can piece them together like so that way it fits into your deployment process.
That's right. So right now I can see, based off of this pipeline, that my production US East environment is running this version right here. That is called, it's got a name, Lunging Frog. And my other environments, test, UAT, and production US West, are all currently running belligerent LAN. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate, as if my team pushed out a new image. So going from .34 to .35, we're going to just generate that new image right there and select the same Git commit that we're currently using. And what's going to happen is a new freight is generated. A freight is going to represent all the things that your warehouse is subscribed to. Your image repository, your Git repository, and basically it's saying, hey, this super artifact, that's what we want to promote to that first environment. Based off of what I've defined in this environment, with auto promotion policies, it's already progressed that change to test. In fact, it's already returned a healthy status. It's already moved on and pushed that change into UAT. But then within UAT, I have this environment defined a little bit differently. So I'm actually utilizing validation steps. It's actually kicking off a test that I'm saying that you need to run in this stage and validate that it's successful. And then based off of that success, then be able to promote that change into production. And then in that time frame, you saw Kargo promote that change from test to UAT to production with the proper gating in mind.
What's really cool there is the auto promoting aspect of it, right? Because you're looking at different repositories, you're looking at Git changes, you're looking at image changes, but then you're building that rule set to where like, okay, whenever these things match up, right? Like you say, you create that super artifact, right? What we call freight, which is basically just a collection of like pointers to like the artifacts of where they live. And then you have rule sets to promote those into the environment. So so you still can give that fast iteration aspect of it to developers while like putting in rule sets, right? Guardrails. And then further down the pipeline, you can set up like different guardrails or different rule sets to what gets promoted or what doesn't. So you still have that quick iteration. So you kind of like let CI build the things, right? Let GitOps deploy the things, but you have Kargo's that intelligence in the middle to like decide what gets promoted or what or when, because as you know, in GitOps, there's a lot of iteration in a Git repository. Developers are constantly updating things as they should, right? As they're developing. But you don't want to deploy everything, right? You only want to deploy things when they're ready.
That's right. Yeah, and you'll notice, these environments had that auto promotion policy set up, like meeting you at your need. Like some people might have to, promote things a little bit more manually, like gate it by human interaction. So you'll notice that my production US East environment, it's unhealthy. Nothing's being promoted to it. Nothing's happening at all. And that's because it doesn't have that policy enabled. You have to go in and you can manually push to this environment because they're a much more sensitive customer.
No, for sure, for sure. And I know in Kargo, you can, instead of like promoting into the environment, you can do a PR, right? You have that gating as well. So it's which is very important, right? Like you can it's all beholden on your Git process. So you don't necessarily have to like go straight into whatever deployment branch you're doing. You can just do a PR.
That's right. So I wanted to open up, this is clearly like my stages represent the same Argo CD applications that I'm deploying. But then also, if I dive into the Git repository itself, it shows what Kargo did. So you can see the change that Kargo committed into the repository. You can see all the recent pushes that Kargo did. It's very, visible, human readable. You can see exactly what the change is. And other powerful functionalities that you can use out of the box with Kargo are going to involve rendering the manifest. So a problem today in GitOps with Argo CD is Argo CD is often doing the last mile rendering. This means that a lot of times you won't know something is broken until the deployment stage. And that also utilizes a lot of resources from Argo CD's perspective. That's where a lot of the tuning and tweaking happens. And Kargo can be there and doing that rendering for you, which provides you a much more visible like YAML that you can understand exactly what is being deployed to the environment. And it's much cleaner for Argo CD to apply that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. There's a interesting question. I don't think we can answer it here. This is, does Kargo work with SSO? The answer is yes. It works fine. If it's using SAML though, I don't think OIDC will work. You have to use DEX for SAML. But implementation detail, not sure what your environment, but it does work with SSO. So just to let you know, with DEX.
Got it. And then we're gonna go ahead and go back to the slides for a moment and just pull up the next arc. So we're gonna be going into monitoring with Akuity Platform. And while I'm resetting my environment to show you monitoring, we'll chat a little bit about what's changed. So a lot of the story kind of ties to AI. Like I mentioned earlier, AI is empowering faster iteration, and like with all the vibe coding, like people are pushing code constantly. We need now AI to provide some backup, AI to help us build better pipelines. AI can then also help us remediate as well. So if something does go down, like with GitOps, AI can tell us, hey, this is what's wrong with your deployment. This is a suggestion for you to fix that deployment. And you can go ahead and apply that just by clicking this button right here.
What's really what I always say, the best way to battle AI is with AI, right? So you're gonna have developers and engineers using AI. Well, let's do some AI for SREs and platform engineers as well, right? This is the best. Use those same models for other things as well. So that's what I always say here.
That's right. So going into monitoring, I'm also going to show like that AI agent piece as well. So like this is just a sneak peek into what the AI support engineer can do. I'll be showing it in a demo coming up, along with all the visibility features that you get with the Akuity platform. So going into the demo right here and just focusing on the monitoring piece. Now, with that hybrid agent model, we're able to understand more of what's going on in your cluster. How many instances are running, how many clusters, how many objects, resources, resource utilization. But the idea is that you get all of that in this view. You can, kind of comb through the data, see it combined as a unit. One of the first views that we're going to look at is the Explorer view. From here, you can see, across all of your instances. We're just going to go ahead and focus on mine. Hey, like all the Argo CD applications that are currently running in it. Which ones are healthy, which ones are unhealthy, and even applications that are not currently being deployed by Argo CD itself. From here,
a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I said a lot of people don't know that when you install Argo, like Argo is monitoring everything, even if it's not managing it. So so we just kind of took that byproduct, right, of Argo, and the byproduct of us running our architecture. Let's just collect that data and we'll present it to you. And we'll build dashboards for you on data that's already there. Like there's no extra burden in us providing this information for you because it's already being collected. We're just kind of building dashboards for you. So that's kind of a cool byproduct that we just decided to leverage and build these amazing dashboards.
Thanks for that. Yeah, but just continuing real quick, like based off of the visibility that I see here, I can see clearly that this application is degraded. I can click into it, and the visibility is about meeting you like where you need. Like there's a lot of different ways that we expose this data. People are going to use it all differently. But what you can gather is, just by clicking into this, we see this timeline view. We can start to understand all of the events, things like spec changes, audit log information, sync operations, even cargo promotions that led to an impact. So based off of this timeline, I can see that this application was running healthy at one point, and then at some point it became unhealthy. And the reason why is because someone came in like based off of this audit log information, and patch the specific resource. I can see that right here. What else can I see within that same timeline? The exact change that that person made. So this change led to the impact of the downtime. I can also see details like the manifest from here, log information, events, audit log information that led to that downtime. A lot of multiple outlets for your team to be able to go in and remediate an issue. Just going back and focusing on that same specific issue. Let's say, your team isn't quite familiar with Kubernetes, not familiar with Argo CD. That wasn't enough to help them solve the problem. What they can do, like from the perspective of, let's say I'm just an engineer, I'm hopping onto Argo CD, looking at my application, and it's degraded. Argo CD from the beginning has been focused on that visibility. You can see from here, you can follow all the trail of the broken hearts, click into the objects and understand what's going on. So that's very useful, very helpful. Gets you to just a better understanding of like your platform.
What's really cool is that like you can view it like as an engineer directly, right? You can see this as an engineer, or what you can do is as a platform engineer, right? So now as a DevOps person, I can see holistically. I can see my entire fleet, or or just a developer who's managing, or whoever's managing this application can see this one specifically. So we provide the visibility holistically or to the individual end user, so that way you can have like some sort of self-serve type of things.
That's right. But just going into here and understanding this, and I wasn't logged in a while ago, so I'm logged into the platform. I can see more information now. Now, as an end user, I can also access the Akuity AI agent. So from here, I can ask it, hey, could you diagnose this application? Take a look at it for me. And it will look through. It will look at, the current manifest. It will look at, what are the current events, the audit log information, and get us an idea to better troubleshooting this. From this, we can understand that, hey, this is clearly out of sync with a degraded status. And understand potential reasons why it's leading to that. We can start to resolve this deployment degradation, understand why it's out of sync. What that might lead us to is, figuring out, hey, like if it is out of sync, what would be the diffs? What's different from what's currently running versus what it should be running? And then just be able to expose more data to get to a state of being able to, MTTR, DORA metrics, very important to be able to iterate quickly, but also resolve problems quickly as they arise. So based off of understanding this, you can come to a conclusion, understand that based off of this, clearly there's a bad image tag based off of what's currently running versus what is currently desired. And then it will tell you what that diff is, and then even offer you the ability to sync and resolve that problem. So from here, I can click that button, have it do the sync operation for me based off of the change that it suggests, and get back to a healthy running state.
What's really really cool, and just came to mind, like we're talking about like vibe coding. This is like vibe SREing, right? Like we're kind of we're kind of just like in a natural language kind of saying, hey, what's wrong here? Oh, can you tell me what's wrong? All right, that looks good. And what's the remedy? Oh, that remedy looks right. Yeah, go ahead and do that for me. Like it's your vibe troubleshooting. I think we should start that, like vibe troubleshooting. That should be the next Angelica, if you want to write a blog about vibe, you can do vibe troubleshooting here.
I like it, Christian. I'm expecting you to post something on Blue Sky right after this.
Yeah, take a look at Blue Sky, and then I'll talk about vibe troubleshooting.
Awesome. So we've covered the timeline, we covered the AI agent, but there's additional views within this monitoring piece as well. So you're able to understand, because you're managing things in Kubernetes in GitOps. That means you're also managing Kubernetes clusters. So you're going to be upgrading Kubernetes clusters. You have to make sure that your APIs stay like up to date, that things are not just going to break within the next upgrade that you do. So we expose this information. You can get ahead of that. You can understand details like stuck and deletion resources with Argo CD. You can understand details as it pertains to your workloads, your containers. So these are the containers that we have running. Clicking into them, we can understand the resource utilization. Like, what are the logs related to the specific container? What is the image name? How long has it been running? What is the usage? Get to a state of being able to better fine-tune your environments. You can also understand details as it pertains to your images. So I spoke earlier about CVEs with running Argo CD images itself, but what about everything else that's running in your cluster? Security is such a very important factor in the DevOps, like software delivery space, that you have to consider at every point. So from here, you can integrate to CVE scanning tools. You can understand what is running in all of your environments. So I clearly have a few vulnerabilities here based off of this specific image of Argo CD. It's currently 40 containers of this running. If I click into this, I can understand what those vulnerabilities are. I can understand whose instance is it running in, which clusters are they running in, and then be able to remediate that as well.
This is really, really cool, especially like, so this is SRE specific. This is vibe checking here, as as Angelica put it. But it's really cool because like now it's like, all right, just a lot of people worry about their Argo CD individually, but like no, this is like beyond Argo CD, right? This is like, since Argo CD is monitoring that, let's do a security scan. And here are the vulnerabilities. At me as an administrator, I'm putting my administrator hat on, my DevOps hat on. It's like if I see 40 containers running that vulnerability, I'm gonna pick up the phone and start calling you developers to start start upgrading your Argo CD instances, because that's scary to me. But it's great that I know that. It's great that I have like one platform to be able to see all of that, right? One GitOps platform, because GitOps is just beyond just managing infrastructure. It's beyond just deploying applications. It's actually managing your enterprise. So this is really, really cool.
Awesome. And then just tying into currently like the final piece of this demo right here. So infrastructure. So across all of my instances, whether it's like a node specific view, pod specific view, I can understand CPU utilization, memory utilization. I can start to group this information and get better data. I can see what pods are running hot. And what's really powerful is being able to understand this from a region perspective. Let's say you're managing like a huge application across multiple regions. You can understand the impact across a specific one. So just going through here, I can start to see that information, understand it as it pertains to multiple regions. Like for example, if there's a big launch for my product, but it's like North America focused, like there's going to be a lot of pods getting stressed there. I can ensure that I'm getting ahead of things before they start breaking, leading to no impact for my end users.
Yeah, and it's really cool to be able to see that. Like if I already know what that pod is right there for my demo, that's like V cluster. So yeah, so like hover over that. I know it's already V cluster. So like, and that makes sense because like I'm just deploying a bunch of temporary Kubernetes endpoints there. But it's good to know, like, oh, like that, maybe I should scale that pod, right? Maybe I should not be running it on one pod. So it's kind of cool to get kind of like a view of like, again, beyond GitOps, right? Like, what does my infrastructure look like? What are my hotspots? What do I need to scale or any of that? We bubble that up for you.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that about wraps up the monitoring part of the demo right there. And any last thoughts on like the whole platform as a whole, each individual piece, Christian? Just want to open some
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Some conversation, and I think the what's great about the platform, right, is it's building essentially a platform using these open source tools, and adding all the things that you're gonna need anyway, right? So, um, a lot of people when they used to work at Google, they say, well, at Google, I used to dot dot dot, right? I'm the same way at Red Hat, right? I was there for 10 years, so I guess going to be saying that for the rest of my life. So at Red Hat, it's similar to kind of like OpenShift. There's like, well, OpenShift is not just Kubernetes, right? It's like kind of an opinionated deploying, ready to go, top to bottom. It has monitoring, it has all that stuff here. It's the same with the Acuity platform, right? The Acuity platform is it's a platform, right, build on these open source opinionated tools that kind of gives you like this whole kind of ready to go a package, right? So kind of like, instead of building your own car, you can buy one off the lot with all the stuff all ready to go, right? And so you have the Acuity platform not only has the the car analogy to it, but it also has the insurance, right? Like, because you also need to buy the insurance for it, which is why we're maintainers and contributors. Not only do we create these projects, but we also are continuously contributing to it, continuously maintaining these projects because it's like the cornerstone, right? So it's always the we want to feed and care the thing that is running our platform. So I think it's really really cool to be able to like have a platform that has all the tools I'm already familiar with in the open source, but like with all these enterprise features, right? It's all something I don't want to build. Something I come from. My SRE DevOps background is like I ran with very very small teams, right? Like I had a very very small team. I had like 3 4 people on my team, and I had to manage hundreds of developers. Like I don't want to manage these open source tools. I love open source, but I don't want to manage these tools. Like just let me give me something off the shelf, but I want the experience of open source. So I think it's really really cool to be able to do this for the enterprise here. What's interesting, there's a question that comes up is because I think we have time for questions, unless you had any other thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, like Christian, if you want to take a look at the chat, see if there's any interesting questions we can go over.
Yes.
And then like
Mhm.
as we start to close out, we can talk about some, next steps that you can take from here.
Awesome. Yeah, let's spend a few minutes here. Someone asked, are there ways to run reports on certain apps over time, either by CLI or API? So basically, we have the monitoring tools. Is there a way to generate reports from that? I don't know if there is or isn't. I believe the answer is yes. Do you know how, Daniel? You know?
Like what specific information? Pretty much all the information that's exposed, you can query that via the API. There's various points in the UI where you can, just export the data, whether it's like a report that you can just instantly use or something as well.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. I think I know the answer to this, but maybe I'll let you answer. About the monitoring, right? About the are we running LLMs locally, or are we hooking into something like OpenAI? I believe we're hooking into OpenAI. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. But that can change, like depending on our needs. So AI is quickly shifting, and it's about how best you can train your model. And we're trying to always look for better ways that we can implement it, get to a better AI. And I think that we're in a good position to do so. Like we have a good understanding of your entire software delivery process, how GitOps deployment works. Argo understands a lot of that data. So that leads us to being able to build a much more robust one. And yeah, like the flexibility for what you need, like depending on like I think that opens a bigger conversation. Like are you not able to use that? Do you need to self-host that?
Yeah.
Scan for a personalized conversation with us and we'll chat about it.
Yeah, no, I think the possibilities are great right now. Right now we're tapping into OpenAI, but I can imagine users want specific information about their environment. And they want that localized, right? They want that information localized. So like I said before, you can talk to Daniel, scan the QR code there if you want to talk to Daniel, get some one-on-one time with him. Um he can answer some of these here. Um
I think there's a question, I think right here by Peter. He's asking about essentially like DORA metrics, understanding better metrics as you're pushing out changes. And yes, that is a key differentiator in our platform as well. There's going to be points like from the Argo CD perspective, from Cargo perspective, where you're going to understand that. And I'll pull up a quick glimpse of what that looks like from Cargo's perspective. You can see details like how often you're promoting a specific change, how long that takes to get between one environment to another, how often that's failing, and how long it takes you to get to a healthy state based off of that. Be able to understand that information as well.
Cool, cool. Peter says thank you.
All right. So I think we're at a good stage to wrap up then. So
Yep.
yeah, from here, like, I know we showed like just barely scratching the surface of what you can accomplish with Acuity. If it makes sense, reach out to us. We're happy to expand the conversation, maybe demo something a little bit more deeply for you. And feel free to reach out to Christian as well. He's in the community. Like, yeah, anything you want to add there? if you want to
Yeah,
learn how to play
yeah.
guitar.
Yeah, learn how to play guitar. No, yeah, reach out to me. I'm both on the Cargo Discord and on the Argo CNCF Slack. You can find me there in the community to talk about anything open source, anything there, anything GitOps. I'm always lurking around there in the community. So Cargo is again Cargo, Argo, everything our platform is built on is open source. So we're very committed to that community. So we're there. You can talk to us. You can even talk to Blake if you want. So those of you who love Blake in the Argo community, he's even there as well. So
Yeah. I think since we have just a little bit of time, I can answer that one last question right there. So yes, Cargo surfaces the statuses from Argo CD. That's part of one of the things that it factors in the promotion process when you're using it with Argo as well.
awesome,
All
cool.
right.
So I think
Yeah.
I think this is good. Yeah. So I think thank you everyone for joining. Again, go ahead if you want a personalized demo, or if you have more questions, or you want a very very specific demo. Scan that QR code, book some time with Daniel. You actually will get Daniel, right? So the famous Daniel, he's here on this side of the screen. I don't know where he is on your side of the screen. Go ahead, book some time with him. He can ask specific questions there. Again, we're dropping that link here, akuity.io/get-in-touch, or scan the QR code if you're watching this on YouTube later on. So yeah. So with that, Daniel, thank you for coming on. Well, thank you for demoing the Akuity platform. It's always great to see someone who's constantly talking to customers and end users about the Akuity platform to come on and talk about this. So thank you for coming on. And yeah, and with that, thank you everyone, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Christian.
Cheers, everyone. Yep.